Welcome to the Age is Irrelevant podcast with your host, Helen Fritsch. Helen is a 60-plus, lifelong competitive athlete, flight attendant, published fitness model, writer, IFBB bodybuilding pro, and certified wine specialist who believes that your age is irrelevant to pursue goals, dreams, and desires. Are you a woman in her 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond who still has a burning desire to pursue a dream or a passion? Are you thinking about starting a new chapter in your life, but you're hesitant, thinking that you might be too old or just don't know where to begin? The Age is Irrelevant podcast is a podcast devoted to women who want to defy the odds, smash barriers, and redefine happiness and success after 40. It's time to make a difference. There is no need to dread blowing out that added birthday candle every year. A new movement is slowly taking momentum, where being over the hill just isn't relevant anymore. Age labels are being thrown out the window, and women are rediscovering the strength within themselves to make a difference, not only within their own lives, but also touching and inspiring the lives of other women. Join Helen as she and her guests discuss all aspects of aging after 40 and how to make the aging process and those twilight years more rewarding, exciting, and fun.
Hello and welcome to the Age is Irrelevant podcast. I'm your host, Helen Fritsch, and this is episode 114. Now, before we get into my podcast interview, I just wanted to thank everyone who has supported me with buying my book, Life Lessons from the Overhead Bin. It was released back in July. It was a #1 Amazon bestseller, and I am very, very grateful for those of you who have gotten this book. If you haven't read the book yet, it's a great book for yourself or as a gift for women over 40, 50, 60, and beyond who are looking to tackle and thrive in their second chapter of life. And you can get my book on Amazon. And if you do get it, and if you have read it, please shoot me a note and let me know how you liked it. Now, today's guest is living proof that adventure has no expiration date. Meet Betty Birrell, a 77-year-old iconic windsurfer and mountain biking sensation from the beautiful Vancouver area in British Columbia. While most people slow down with age, Betty chose to gear up, tackling rugged trails, defying expectations, and inspiring generations to rethink what's possible at any age. Her story isn't just about mountain biking. It's about courage, vitality, and saying yes to life again and again. You're going to love her spirit, her wisdom, and her unstoppable energy. And now may I present my conversation with Betty Birrell. Hi, Betty. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Helen. Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
Oh, well, it's an honor to have you on my show. And for my listeners, I am I am interviewing Betty Birrell. I'm sorry, I should have asked you this before. Is that how you pronounce your last name? Is that correct?
Yes.
Betty is a 77-year-old, I want to say, icon in the cycle industry. We'll get into all her great accolades and how she became so passionate about cycling in just a few minutes. But to start off, Betty, I always love asking my guests from the very beginning about your childhood, where you were born, and growing up, your parents, your siblings. What if you were athletic when you were a child?
Oh, I grew up outside of a small town on Vancouver Island in kind of a semi-rural area. Everybody had 5 to 20 acres to play on, and I had 2 brothers. We were very close in age. I think Mom and Dad had 3 kids under the age of 3.5, so we were very close. And we lived on the ocean. We had acreage on the ocean, and of course, in those days, acreage wasn't worth anything, no matter where you were. But and I went to school in an elementary school in Saltaire, and I went to high school in Ladysmith, and my mom was the secretary at the elementary school, and my dad ran a mill. He was an independent person, and had a great childhood, really great childhood. Just we had a lot of freedom. There was kids in the neighborhood, there was a farm up the road where we got our milk from, and the forests all around, and, of course, the ocean. So we really had a lot of opportunity to go play. And, Mom always said, go outside and play. So we spent our childhood outdoors. And so I still love being outdoors all the time.
Right. I can kind of get that because, back in the day, I'm about 10 years younger than you. And same thing. Parents kicked us out of the house, and then they'd have to be calling us in at the end, like it's time for supper or whatever. And we were always playing outside. There was no inside time unless you were in trouble.
Yeah. Right.
So, were you and your siblings, were you involved in sports, growing up?
Well, growing up in the 50s, which was still quite a patriarchal environment, my brothers were in sports, they played musical instruments, and I was just the girl. And
Oh, well, yeah,
I
you're
was the
right.
oldest. And so I think when I got to about grade 11, I said to my mom, how come I don't get to do anything? And so we tried to find something. It was midway through the school year. So we tried to find something that I could get involved in. The only thing available was elocution. And so I took elocution lessons, and which was really fun, actually. But yeah, so basically I never did any organized sports, except I would do sports day in high school. I do, and elementary school, I would do sports day, and I actually always did really well. I always got ribbons, but I was never considered sporty. That nobody was called an athlete back in those days. And yeah, I lost my train of thought.
Well, let me just backtrack a minute. You'll have to tell us what allocution is.
It's like speech lessons,
Oh,
like
okay.
how to pronounce and that sort of thing.
Okay.
I still say I'm gonna, but
Oh,
really
yeah.
the idea is to teach you how to say I am going to,
Right.
that sort of
Okay.
thing.
Yeah. I think we could probably all still learn lessons in that today. For sure.
Um, so, so I don't know, I lost my train of thought back there.
You were just talking about you were like the only girl. The boys were doing all the sports, and
Right.
you and your mom, you finally found that the elocution that you could
Right. So
participate
basically, I
in.
spent my childhood playing, adventuring in the mountains the foothills of the mountains up above our house, and, playing with my brothers, with the neighborhood kids. Yeah, just disorganized play.
Right. What exactly first introduced you to mountain biking?
Oh gosh, I didn't get into mountain biking till I was 45. I had all kinds of history before that with sports in
Okay.
my adulthood.
Yeah, let's talk
Yeah.
about that first.
So I think, I discovered in high school that I liked to adventure. I got that from my dad, I think. And I would say to my girlfriends, oh, let's ride our bikes to Victoria, which was 60 miles away. And, of course, I never found anybody to do anything with like that. So, but then when I went to university, I met lots of people that were involved in sports. And so I started playing tennis, I started skiing, I started backpacking and mountaineering and, lots of outdoor sports. And so I started windsurfing too, and that was all throughout my 20s. My main sport in my 20s main sports would have been skiing and mountaineering, and then in my mid 20s, I got quite involved in windsurfing, and then towards the end of my 20s, I got I wanted to really get into windsurfing because we used to go on vacations the spring and the fall after the ski season, go to Maui and Oahu, and we would see people windsurfing in the waves, and it was just the beginning stages of windsurfing in the waves. So I decided I want to do this. I really want to get into this, and I want to get good at this. And so I transferred my base to Oahu, and I lived there for 3 years, and the sport of windsurfing in the waves was just taking off. And so I got accredited with being the best woman wave sailor in the world at that time.
Wow.
And and I basically probably pioneered women's wave sailing because in big waves, because there were very few women that were in sailing in the waves at that time, but I was probably the only one for a period of time that went out and sailed in the bigger waves. And then I got married and I moved my base back to Canada. And I got married around 34, I guess. And I maintained my involvement with windsurfing, no longer competing, but I started the first ever women's high performance windsurfing clinics in Oregon in the Gorge because it was a reliable high wind mecca at the time. So I ran those camps in the summer. I actually eventually started involving, having them be unisex, having men, because they really demanded that they get to be in the clinics too.
Right, right.
So I did that for quite a few years, but I had my son, and he came to my clinics the first summer, but it just wasn't a safe environment. So I after his first, he would have been 6 months in the summer of my first camps. And so I stopped doing them, and I just got too busy because there's a lot of background and development involvement in doing these camps. So so I stopped doing those, and I pretty much just worked and became a full-time mom. I became a single mom when he was 2.
Oh.
And when he was about, and I was a road biker too through all this. I was a road biker too. That was my cardio thing. and and I was, I was weight training quite a bit at that time. And then around when he was about 4, he wanted to get a dog. So that really added to the workload. And I realized I just couldn't, go to work, maintain my house, do the yard work, be a mom, da, 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 da. And a friend of mine, actually, just before my son was born, my husband at the time gave me a mountain bike. But I never rode it, really, because I was very much into road biking. And, when Hayden was about 6 months, we started car camping. So I'd take the mountain bike with me to car camping and ride around the campsite sort of thing. But when we got the dog, I just couldn't do it all. So a friend of mine who'd been nagging me to go mountain biking for about 2 years, I finally decided to get a real mountain bike, and then I went mountain biking with him. And he took me down some pretty serious trails to begin with. So I would just boom into the sport, and I was hooked right away. It was just magical for me. Yeah, it was. I just loved it.
I have good friends who live out in Vail, Colorado, and especially in the summer times, we'll go up in the mountains and hike. And these trails, they're mountain biking trails. And so obviously when we're hiking, we're giving way to these mountain bikers. And these trails are yay big, just enough for a tire, and then rocks and everything else. And they're just like speed demons. And I'm like, OMG, it's unbelievable. So I have it in my mind envisioning you, and I've seen your pictures too. And I'm like, oh my God, that's just, you have to have that sense of adventure and fearlessness when you're involved in a sport like that.
Yeah, you definitely do. It's a very committed sport because there's so many variables that are coming at you so fast. So one of the things I love about mountain biking is the focus that you have to have. You just have to be there right in the moment. And, that's part of the thrill. It's part of the challenge. It's interesting. I find that as I've been getting older, that my focus span is a little shorter. So, if you're riding down something steep, you have to be very controlled and very focused the whole time, whatever you're riding. You have to be very focused. So I find now if something's really long, I think, no, I don't think I can stay focused that long. I think I'll go around.
Oh, well, and
But,
that's okay, and that's okay. Um,
yeah.
it seems like, at 77 that you're riding stronger than many people like half your age, because I've done a lot of, little bit of research on you. Um, you said when you first started it and you really enjoyed it, what was that spark? What exactly took you to like, this is amazing and this is going to be my sport?
Um, well, it was pretty thrilling, and I loved the challenge. And you're flying through the forest. You've got everything. You've got the adventure, you've got the challenge, the physical and mental challenge, and you're in the forest, and that wonderful sense of freedom. You feel really free. I love that about mountain biking.
And how old were you when you first started mountain biking?
45.
45. Okay. So was there a moment in your life when you realized movement and adventure would always be a part of who you are? I mean, did you take that throughout your whole life, or did it really magnify once you hit mountain biking?
I think I had an epiphany in my early 20s where I decided that exercise and eating well were going to be my life insurance policy to being active into my old age. I planned back, my early 20s that I was going to be active my whole life. I didn't want to be like hobbling around.
Well, and that's amazing too, because if you're 10 years older than me, then you were born in the 40s. So literally in the 60s, this is what your epiphany is. And back in the 60s, nutrition and a healthy lifestyle really wasn't the thing back then. I mean, I remember eating Spam and, all kinds of, crazy stuff that my mother would put in front of us, and, those big, giant, round, coconut pink snowballs, and, Hostess cupcakes and all that kind of stuff, and Twinkies, all
Right.
all the stuff now that I would imagine that if I still had a Twinkie from 1960, it would probably still be edible today. I'm guessing with all the preservatives in it. So I
Exactly.
think that's amazing. I mean, I know my listeners can't see you, but you look amazing. I'd never guessed that you were in your late 70s. I think you look just simply phenomenal. So I think it's true to say that, eating clean and really taking good care of yourself internally, exudes, you externally too. So,
Right. Well, thank you. I also I don't know how I just hooked onto exercise, but I did. It was just maybe the university environment. Maybe it was my boyfriend at the time who was very athletic, and his family who I did lots of camping trips with and adventures with. But the other thing that happened was I read this book by Adele Davis, who was like a early pioneer in modern day nutrition, and like I remember her talking about do not eat hydrogenated fats. Well, it wasn't until 20 years ago or something that they finally banned hydrogenated fats from food, and she was talking about it back in the 60s. So uh, yes, that was quite enlightening for me to read that book. And of course, it was also the hippie era, like, crunchy granola and,
right, right.
that's so, and I wasn't a hippie, but, people were starting to, make their own yogurt, grow their own sprouts, um, make their homemade granola, homemade bread. So I really got hooked into that, like in my early 20s. And, yeah, so yeah, it was just kind of serendipitous, I guess.
That's that's amazing. That's really, really. I don't think, as a lot of the women that I've interviewed, I don't think they've taken that far of a step that early in life. I know
Hmm.
personally, I was an athlete when I was in my 20s, and I was a really good athlete in my teens and my 20s because I went to school and was a competitive athlete in school, and a champion athlete at that. And I didn't think twice about my diet. But I was 5'10", and I weighed literally like 100 pounds.
Oh my
I ran,
gosh.
I ran
Wow.
track and cross country, and back then I was just basically eating 3 meals a day, so I couldn't understand why I was so skinny, and I would just cry to my mom about being so skinny. And but hindsight, looking back, and only eating 3 times a day, and then running like 6 miles a day for practice, it's very understandable why. So, and then also too, and I don't know if you went through this, I would go, I'd be at school at practice, and then all the football team and all the boys teams, they had a special outdoor facility where it was a big weightlifting facility. And so I would always be like, oh, I would always wonder what it was like in there. And I would like to try to lift weights sometime, but that was taboo back in the 60s and the 70s, and you didn't do that.
Mhm.
So I was very happy that I was just a gifted natural athlete, because I would just practice, and my diet, nutrition had nothing, nothing to do with it, unfortunately.
Mhm.
So kudos to you for, taking that nutrition into account as well as your training. Did you ever do any weight training when you were younger?
No, no, like I say, when my school years, I just played. You know, I didn't start weight training till I went to university, and they had a circuit underneath the bleachers. And so that's where I started. They had some free weights, and they had, various exercises that you would do in this circuit. So that's where I started that. And then in my late 20s, I bought a book, How to Weight Train. And then that's when I moved to Hawaii. And then I went to a gym in Hawaii, because I had nothing but time, because I had as a flight attendant, you have so much time off. And so, I could go windsurfing, and then I come home and have a 10-mile run, and maybe go to the gym for a couple hours, maybe go to an aerobic class, and you just
Wow.
had, yeah, tons of time. Where I find now I'm retired, I should have more time for that kind of stuff, but I actually have less time. So,
Right.
um, yeah, just, I don't know, more commitments. It's kind of strange how that worked out.
Right, right. Let's talk about, I'm sure that you probably accumulated a pretty good amount of injuries with your bike.
Yeah,
Probably
actually,
got
I had
pretty,
to write
probably
them
got
down.
pretty smashed up. I mean, so talk about some of your injuries and how you recovered from them. And did it really, that first big injury that you had, were you like, oh gosh, is this the right thing for me? Or was it, I can hardly wait to get back on there. I'll be bigger, better, stronger. I mean, what was that all like?
Well, I think I've had injuries all my life. I mean, I started off with, tearing something in my knee joint when I first started skiing when I was 18, and um, yeah, I've injured myself in every sport. I mean, so skiing, I tore my knees. Then climbing, I broke a finger, and snow. Then I took up snowboarding, and I broke a leg. And oh, while I was windsurfing, I broke a leg, and then I started mountain biking, and then I started getting a lot more injuries. I've broken my humerus. I've dislocated this shoulder. I've dislocated this shoulder. I have a permanent semi-dislocation of my sternoclavicular joint. Um, I have broken my hand. I've broken my wrist. And then the worst injuries actually have been from landscaping, because when I retired, I started landscaping, and and so I severed some tendons with my pruning saw.
Oh,
Uh, what else? I'm trying to count. I think that's, and I've had lots of like little tears here and there. Um, Most of the injuries throughout my life, they to me they were just kind of a short-term time to reinvent yourself. And because I was a flight attendant, had a wonderful wage indemnity plan. So while I was off work, I was getting paid. So depending on the injury, I could always do other things. So, yeah, so whether it be doing a renovation on my house on my knees because I had a broken leg, or
my gosh.
but in my 70s, though, everything changed, because I think when I was 71, I had this, it took a long time to be diagnosed, but I could feel myself not being well, and it finally came out that it went with I had a severe pain in my abdomen, and it turned out I ended up having to have I had some huge infection, like a tumor in my pelvis, and so after going to the hospital the first time to having surgery, it was a month and a half later. So that really set me back for about 5 months. And then when I was 70, I had to write that down because I can't remember. That was when I was 71. Then when I was 74, that's when I slashed my forearm with my pruning saw, and I completely severed the main tendon in my forearm, and then shredded two other tendons. And that took me out. That was the worst injury I'd ever had, because I wasn't allowed to bring my heart rate up for 5 weeks. I had to pretty much, because it was such a delicate plastic surgery operation. And my partner was away at the time. We live in a small village where there's no amenities, and we live at the top of the village, the bottom of a mountain against the forest. And it was the summertime, and I was like, he was away for the first 3 weeks of that, and so I couldn't drive. So that was a hard one.
Wow.
Emotionally. And then when I was 75, I broke my wrist, and that was okay. I mean, it's just a broken wrist. But what happened was, physically, every time you injure yourself, like as you get older, the recovery time is harder and longer. You lose more faster. I mean, I'm not to say you give up, but what happened for me was that, mountain biking, like you either ride your bike to the top, or you take your car, so which is called shuttling. And plus I got a new bike, which was heavier. So after coming back from that last injury, riding a heavier bike, I thought, oh, this is so hard. And so I kind of just backed off pedaling uphill and started shuttling more and riding my e-bike too. So I've lost cardio. So what I'm saying is, I don't think it had to happen, but I just happened to have had these consecutive setbacks physically. And yeah, so, I'm happy where I'm at now. I just wish, well, I do wish I hadn't lost as much cardio. I'm trying to get some back, still trying to get it back on the stationary bike.
Right, right. What did or does both your training schedule look like when you were competing as far as mountain biking? Like, what was your training like?
I've never competed mountain biking, but I used to compete windsurfing. And that's when I lived in Hawaii. And that's when I had lots of time to dedicate to fitness. And, often I would begin my day by going to an aerobics class, because that's jazzercise or whatever they
Right.
called it back then. Did a couple of those back to back. Then I'd go windsurfing when the wind came up, windsurf for maybe 3 hours, and then maybe pelt back into the gym and do some weight training for an hour or so, and then go home and go for a 10-mile run. Like, I just had nothing but time to be fit. It was super fun. But I mean, with mountain biking, you just go, it's playing. I mean, for world class mountain bikers, they train. I just go out and ride and have fun and play, and just try to ride my best and my hardest and my fastest and my most committed every time I go out.
Right, right. And when you do you go out by yourself? Do you go out with a partner? Do you go out with a group, or all the above?
All of the above. Yeah. When I started my mountain biking, that was around 1993, there were not a lot of people that were available to ride during the week. And because I was a single mom, I used to work weekends because my son would go with his dad. And because his dad worked Monday to Friday. And so I worked weekends, did high hour trips like a Hong Kong, and got all my hours in. And So I was around all week, but which also meant that when I went riding to exercise my dog and myself, I often went by myself. I mean, there was periods of times where there were people that came in and out of my life that had time off during the week. At one time I had for about 10 years, actually, had a great group of people, like 4 or 5 of us. We did lots of adventures together. But now there's so many mountain bikers out there. It's just like gone crazy. It's wonderful. And I belong to a women's riding group, 2 women's riding group. One is called the Shore Sirens. And I was one of the initial members with that. There's like over 200 of us now. And then I also belong to an e-bike riding group called the POS E, as E is,
Yeah.
And so it's just been great having, a lot of women to ride with. And my partner rides occasionally. I don't really actually ride with guys anymore. When I first started riding, was a couple of guys, my partner at the time, and the guy that got me into mountain biking. I used to ride mostly with just this couple of guys when I did ride with other people. But yeah, now there's so many people that are available to ride during the week.
Right.
We have a little bulletin board that's anybody want to ride today, so you can always find lots of people to go out with.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I live in Scottsdale, and we have so many beautiful hiking trails, and there's a lot of, bikers out there, too, who take advantage of the beautiful weather and then all the really great trails out there in Arizona, too. Speaking of Arizona, and where you live also, what's the most beautiful or meaningful place that your bike has taken you? I mean, as far as aesthetics and beauty.
Honestly, I would have to say BC. We have, there's this one area in the Chilcotins, which has become very popular for mountain biking, and it probably has the most magnificent meadows in BC, and the terrain is fabulous. It's what you want to make it. It can be as difficult or as easy as you want to make it, but basically you're just flying full speed through these beautiful meadows. Yeah. If you go in the summer, that is. And that's my favorite place ever.
That's awesome. So I saw that you said that you treat life like one big playground. So where does this approach come from?
It's not so, well, I guess that approach. Do you know where that expression came from? My ex-husband.
Oh, okay.
He was a very he was a businessman, and it's ironic because before I ever got married, I said, well, one thing I know for sure is I'm never going to marry a businessman, and then I went with him to a trip to Taiwan, and I was filling out our entry cards, and I said, well, what is your profession, technically? And he said, well, I guess businessman. Oh, okay. But anyway, so it was in the time when I was going back and forth a lot between Oregon and BC doing these windsurfing clinics, and not just windsurfing in the gorge. And he just said, you think life is just one big effing playground. And so that's where that came from. But, I grew up playing,
Right.
I think too many people lose the child in themselves. I think we
Yes.
just need to maintain a sense of play throughout our life. And it just keeps the spark, I think.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you 1,000%. I think that's what keeps people young. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And, the interesting thing is, people, you just can't get away with it. People say look good for your age. You just can't get away from that. But really what we should be saying is like, you move really well for your age.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Yes.
Yeah. Because, especially if you've grown up in your 50s when we used to, eat white bread and bake in the sun with baby oil and, smoke.
Oh
And,
my gosh. Yes, yes, yes.
So, it's, there's a lot of advantages to today's world, as far as health is concerned. We just know so much more.
Right. I think about
Great.
the young kids today in high school and college, and you think about all the resources they have now with nutrition
Mhm.
and training and supplementation and now peptides and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, it's incredible to think that if we had that back then, where would we be now? So
Exactly.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I
Um,
think in that regard, sorry for interrupting.
good.
In that regard, all the people that started mountain biking when they're 10, 15, 20, that started, like when I started, when I was 45 and they were 20, I mean, they think it's so great that how I'm biking now, and I feel really good about it too. But I just say to them, well, can you imagine what you're going to be biking like when you're 77? Because
Yeah.
you started at 20, so you
Well,
build those skills.
and biking, kind of like skiing, and it's like a lifetime sport. It's just something, and obviously taking skiing or biking to the nth degree. I mean, I do like to ski, and when I go out to Colorado and I see people in their 70s and 80s, and they're doing blacks and hard blues, and I'm like, wow, that's just unbelievable. And when you start chatting with them, and they started skiing when they were 8 years old, it's just like old hat. It's like nothing. And I just think that's just amazing that they're staying young and active. For me, I always say, especially since I lift weights, that muscle is the key to longevity. That you need to movement and muscle and like being strong. We take for granted every day of getting out of a chair, turning a doorknob, opening up a can, a jar,
Hmm.
just little simple
Hmm.
things that people, lose because they're just not strong enough. But what do you practice on a daily basis as far as mental fitness, as mental clarity? Anything
Um,
specific?
I getting outside. I have to get outside every day. I have a dog, so that's pretty easy. So just getting out in the forest. I mean, our we live in a village on on House Sound, and so we're at the top of the village. So there's forest behind us, mountains behind us, and then there's a sea down below. And so it's so easy to get in the forest. So if I can't go biking because it's raining too hard, at least I can get out and go hiking. So that's my salvation, getting in the forest.
Right. And so, as far as your son is concerned, it sounds like he is very active. Do you do a lot of stuff with him? He's like today, as far as biking or any other type of, sports?
Yeah, we bike together quite a bit. He's a mountain guide, and he's the
Oh,
operations manager for a backcountry lodge
wow.
where there's ski touring. So I get to go in there a couple of times a year at least, and so to ski with him, and for 4, 5, 6, and also before he even did this, he always would invite me when he was guiding at other lodges. So that was really special. And then, yes, we always try to get out for he's so busy. So we don't get out to ride more than maybe 6 times a season. Because in the wintertime, he can't ride. I mean, I can keep riding. Yeah, so he's very inspiring to ride with.
That's great. Is there one particular more memorable ride that you remember that was like one of your favorite rides, or that you kind of surprised yourself with completing that ride?
Um, Well, this is many years ago, but I there was this one ride. I'd never ridden it before, and it was a double block, and in fact, none of us had ever ridden it before except one gal. But anyway, so two people take off, and they get to the first steep technical corner, and they blew it, and then I came down, and they let me go by, and I just kept going. I just kept going for the whole ride. I'd never seen anything before, but I would just come up to it, assess right away, and go, and riding as fast as I could. And that was probably the best ride I ever had. I'll never forget that. And and I was way ahead of them, and they were all really good riders. And they said, "How can you ride that without looking at it?" And I just said, "I don't know. I just came up to and assessed and went." And to this day, I can still do that. I can just come up. Usually, you do stop, and if you're not familiar with something, and have a good look at it,
Right,
depending on how severe it is.
right.
But yeah, so that was really a great feeling.
It's amazing to me that you can still, I mean, come up to a certain point. Like, when I'm out skiing and then, come to a point and you have all these different ways and blue, black, green, or whatever. And you're still taking the more difficult rides. I mean, I'm so impressed by that because, being a flight attendant, my legs are my job. So I'm always I'm a conservative skier. I'm a conservative skier. But do you still take those risks and challenges even, where you're at in life today?
I assess a lot more now. There's a lot of like I can't ride too many double blacks anymore, except ones that I've ridden for years. But I can't ride a new double black because it just feels too risky to me. And of course that's something you do sort of start to consider when you get older. You don't want to crash. But I also find too that just because I have a lot of experience, I don't crash. I'm not going as fast. That's a big factor.
Yes.
And my favorite kind of riding is kind of the riding I so suppose grew up on, so to speak, and technical and steep. That's my thing. Whereas now a lot of the trails are wider, they're bermed, they've got jumps, and they're very high speed. Where I feel a lot more confident on the technical rides because they are a bit slower, but you don't feel so because relative to your surroundings, you're going really fast.
Right.
So
That's so funny. As a cyclist, and I know I have gals who listen to this show who are also cyclists, what are some cycling essentials or gear that you swear by?
well, number one is a helmet.
Of course, yeah.
Number two is knee pads. Um, I'm addicted to my knee pads. But I think most riders are. I mean, when we started riding, we didn't have any protective gear, and we were always covered with bruises and black and blue, and especially when the equipment back in those days was not that user friendly. And so yeah, helmet and knee pads. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
That's-
Yeah, and you know what? A full suspension bike, which is
Oh,
pretty common now. I wouldn't go out on the rough trails on a non-full suspension bike.
right, right. And is there anything that keeps you like on days that you want to ride and you're thinking, oh, I just don't feel like it? It's like there's days when I don't want to go to the gym, but I'm like, I need to go. I mean, what's your kind of like, okay, you'd have to talk yourself into it. Is there anything specific that you like doing to get yourself
Well,
motivated?
I just know I have this voice that says, you're going to feel better afterwards. So just go, just get out there and breathe and enjoy. Yeah, because we all know that if you go and you do it, you will feel better,
Right.
even if you're sick.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, of course.
Right, right.
But if you have a cold,
What's been the most rewarding part of staying active in your 70s?
I don't know, just that I can still keep having fun. Yeah, I just think it's just really, really fun. I love having fun, don't we
Right.
all?
Well, that's good, and that's a great philosophy to have, especially at our age, because I think if we look around, and I know that you remember this too, as a flight attendant, that you see all walks of life, and you see older people, especially now around the holidays, who are being carted from point A to point B with their kids, that a lot of these people aren't having fun anymore. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I agree with you there, 100%, 100%. Um, you made a comment, I think I saw in an article about reinvention. Um, were there any specific experiences in your life that you reinvented yourself?
Um, well, I think, every time you get injured for that period of time, you need to keep your mental health going. So you have to reinvent yourself then and there. I had to reinvent myself when in my early 40s. Um, I was diagnosed with osteoarthritis in my hips. And the radiologist said, now get this, that I had the hips of a 70-year-old. Whatever that means. That always cracked me up. That was like, I don't know, around 1990 or something like that. Anyway, my doctor said, and I was very much into running at that time, and squash and tennis, and I rode my bike and I skied. But my family doctor said that you're going to have to, because my hips just were so painful because I of the running, the pounding, and running downhill from hiking and backpacking. And he said you're going to have to give up all your impact sports. And so no more running, no more, you know, squash, no more pounding. And he said, just ride your road bike because it's not an impact sport, road biking. He said, ride your road bike, and weight train and keep that up. And, and riding was going to keep the muscles around your hips strong. That'll support the joint. And voila, the pain went from like couldn't not being able to sleep at night to just being super low grade. I barely, even to this day, my hips barely bother me.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So,
That's great. Great to hear. Are there anything, like one thing or a couple of things that you wish women in midlife and beyond understood about their own physical potential? Because I think this is a big topic.
totally. Like most of the people I ride with are in their 40s and 50s, and some in their 30s, especially in my riding groups. And I hear it so often. Oh, I'm getting old. And I just say, you guys, look, when you're my age, you're going to look back and see how young you are still. I just, I mean, people tell me how inspiring the the films that I've done are, but yet at the same time they're saying, "Oh, I'm getting old." I mean, it's so relative. I often say, well, when you're 90, you're going to think 70 is so young. So I think you just have to live in the moment, be where you are, enjoy where you are, make the most of it, fill up your day, and live your life fully. Um, don't think you're getting old.
Yeah, that's true. Do you have any non-negotiables right now?
um, Well, nutrition and exercise and family and friends are really important to me. Um, yeah, I can't go without my exercise, friends, family, or good food.
Yeah, that sounds like me too. I mean, as a flight attendant, I carry all my own food. I meal prep.
Yeah.
And so even when I go to Europe, and even especially when I'm training for a competition or something. So and even in my off season now too, I still prep, and not really contest prep, but I'm still always prepping food, which everybody laughs at me when we're out sightseeing and I'm pulling a turkey burger out of my purse. But that's so. There's I want, if you're not, I know that you said that you don't really compete right now, but have you ever heard of the Huntsman Senior Games?
No, I haven't.
It's in St. George, Utah. They have it every year in October, and you might want to look into that because it's a function for it's a 2 week event for masters athletes all over the world, and it's every sport you can think of, and mountain biking is, I believe, one of the events. And the scenery is spectacular. You'll meet amazing people from all over the world, 50 and above. I mean, there's athletes there in their 90s and probably 100. But if you go on to, I think, just Google senior, the Huntsman, HUNTSMAN, Huntsman Senior Games,
Okay.
and just check that out. I mean, I've competed at that 3 years, I think, in track and field. Met the most wonderful people. It's run very, very well, and it's something that I think that you would love. And of course, Utah, Zion is just 40
Oh,
minutes away.
yeah.
And so you could run over to Zion. I normally compete, and then like after I'm done, I'll go to Zion for the day and do a nice hike, and then and then drive home. It's like a 7 hour
Mm.
drive from me for here, but I think it's something that it's that you would love. So
Oh,
you'll have to check it out.
I definitely will. I would bet though that the mountain biking element is cross country, which I'm terrible at. I'm more of a downhill mountain biker, but I definitely will check it out.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's true. I didn't really look into it, but with us being so close, that event and that venue being so close to the mountains per se, it might be some place a half hour or 40 minutes away that they do,
Mhm.
they do mountain biking as far as downhill. So, um, but anyway,
Well, yeah, I'll definitely look into it.
so do you have any like future cycling goals right now, or once again, you're just, happy that um, to be out there every day, just having fun and just enjoying life.
Mm. Well, I mean, I'm always pushing myself. I always want to do the best I can. Always want the most, I'm just trying to get the most out of myself. And I'm not like, I don't slack off, so to speak. I mean, some days you'll go out for a run and you just kind of, your mindset's just kind of cruisy. And other days, you can feel you're like full on your game and you just want to go hard. And so, yeah, no matter what your mindset is, I mean, I just always enjoy it. And I have to say, one thing that I've learned getting older is that I'm not hard on myself anymore. I used to be quite hard on myself. I used to get mad at myself sometimes because, I'm a pretty competitive person within myself. And but I love the serenity that older age gives you.
Oh, I
So,
love that. I love that. I love that a lot. That's
and I
great.
like to say that we're not old, we're just older because age is it's relevant, and as you say, it's irrelevant,
Yes.
it's relative and irrelevant.
Right, right.
Yeah.
That's true. If you could leave listeners with a message or two about aging boldly, what would it be?
Um, be bold, go for it. If you're thinking of trying something new, no matter what it is, take baby steps, take lessons, and just I think just go for it. Don't doubt yourself, believe in yourself. I often think of my mom, who was not a competitive person at all. And after my dad and mom got divorced, I tried to talk her into taking up racquetball, but no, she just, behind my back, she went and took up tennis. And she played tennis till she was 87, and then she got dementia. So, but yeah, I just was from that generation of woman to take up a sport, and she'd never been involved in sport. So it's never too late to take up a sport. It's never too, and if you can't take up sport, I think it's just great if you can take up anything that you're passionate about and engaged and involved in.
Oh, I agree. I've interviewed so many amazing women on this podcast, and I interviewed one woman who at the time was 85. She's 89 now, but she was world champion pole vaulter in her age category. And after I finished that interview, I thought, I want to pole vault. And literally, I moved to Arizona and I found a pole vaulting academy and I started pole vaulting. And so
Wow.
it's like, yeah, so it's just like, kind of just like you said, it's just, don't let your age be a factor in something that you want to do. And if you want to do something, just do it. And what's great about today, as far as social media and the internet, is that communities of anything, not necessarily sports, but any type of hobby, they're out there
Right.
and they'll
Yeah.
support you, and you will be, you'll thrive in that environment, especially if it's something that you enjoy doing. So
Yeah.
I agree a
Yeah.
1000%.
I, yeah.
If people want to follow you, I mean, are you on social media?
I am, but I'm really crappy. uh, I'm what am I? B Burrell? I think I'm B Burrell. I better look. Yeah, I'm not, very good at where's my handle? I can't remember. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I'll look it up because if some
Oh
people might.
yeah, it is BBBIRRELL. Three B's
Okay.
and then IRELL.
Okay. And if anybody wanted to like reach out to you for advice on biking or maybe how to get started, I mean, would you have somewhere where they could reach you?
They could just DM me on,
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Perfect.
yeah,
Perfect.
yeah,
Well,
yeah. I just want to add one thing that I love about uh, society now is there is so much more support out there, as you say, for no matter whether it's like quilting or
right.
pruning a tree. There's so much community out there, and I remember I used to start a few years ago. I'd hear this talk about community. I really didn't know what it meant until I joined this women's riding group, and it's really wonderful to have a community that is involved with something that you're passionate about. So, yeah. Yeah, there's so much out there now, isn't there? Like your podcast, there's so much for people to get support with. It's yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, Betty, thank you so much for taking time to share your story. When I first, came across you, I thought, oh my gosh, I need to reach out to her. And so I'm so happy I found you and that you were able to come on and share. I am in awe of women like you and so many others, older and younger, who aspired to live their best lives regardless of their age. So thank you for being a huge proponent of that.
Well, thank you. And it's really been wonderful to talk to you. I'm sorry if I yacked your ear off.
You did not yak my ear off. I enjoyed every second of it.
Oh, well, so did I. Thank you so much.
All right. Yeah, same
All
thing.
the best.
Bye. I sure hope you enjoyed this conversation with Betty, and here are a few takeaways. Number one, serenity comes with age. Betty shared how getting older brings a deep sense of calm and acceptance. Less noise, less pressure, and more peace in simply being who you are. Number two, stop being hard on yourself. With age comes permission to let go of self-criticism. Progress matters more than perfection, and kindness towards yourself is a strength. Number three, believe in yourself and go for it. Confidence doesn't come from age limits, it comes from action. Betty reminded us that courage grows the moment you decide to give it a try. And last, non-negotiables for a vibrant life. Good nutrition, regular movement, meaningful friendships, family connection, and living fully in the present moment. These are the pillars that keep her thriving at 77. Now, if you'd like to reach out to Betty or follow her on social media, she can be found on Instagram at BB Birrell. That's BIRRELL. If you'd like to reach out to me, you can find me on Instagram at Helen Fritch_IFBB Pro. I'm also on Facebook and TikTok. And if you want to shoot me an email, that's helen@ageisirrelevant.com. Once again, thank you so much. I sure hope you enjoyed this. If you did enjoy this interview, please share it for people who might be interested in also learning about Betty and her great accomplishments. If you haven't bought my book, buy my book. I think you'll really enjoy it, and you can share that with your friends also. And until next time, age truly is irrelevant. Take care, and bye-bye.